Welcome back to The Outright Effect, a podcast in which unique perspectives challenge us to be better versions of ourselves. My name's Tempsy.
And I'm Shelly.
And today we're talking about Hawaii etiquette. There is a lot of different aspects of etiquette in Hawaii that they're just not found in other places.
Sure, it's unique to here.
Exactly. So when I moved here, I felt like there were things that I kind of learned along the way. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that and maybe educate some folks who might be coming to visit.
Yeah. And I think this is something that I've been thinking about a little bit recently too, because I have been having interactions more often with people who are not from here. So, and they've just kind of had some questions.
Yeah.
That have come up, which is fine. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that.
And I think it's helpful to support folks like that because you don't want, if you know them and you know they're coming, you don't want them to feel bad for saying something wrong.
Right.
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Like whoops. If you can avoid that, then
which
help
has happened.
Them. Right.
So I think the first thing that I learned, and it wasn't when I lived here, it was when I first met my husband. I knew he was from Hawaii. So I said, "Oh, you're Hawaiian." And he said, no. And I was like, well, I'm from California and I'm Californian, so you're Hawaiian. And he said, no, that's not how it works. So why don't you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. So this is something I actually was watching a video recently of two guys who had come here to film some stuff in Hawaii. They kind of do like a little food thing, right? I think I mentioned this on a previous episode.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
They did call out that like Hawaiian and Hawaii stuff is like two different things. So I mean, Native Hawaiians, it's like a culture of people like indigenous to Hawaii, that kind of thing, not just because you're born in Hawaii or anything like that, or you're considered like a local of Hawaii because you've lived here for like years and years and years. And so if you, like for myself, I'm not Hawaiian, I'm Japanese, but I've lived here like my whole life. And if somebody were to, call me Hawaiian, I'd be like, I'm Japanese. No, I'm not.
You would also let them know, like, hey,
that's something else. That means a different thing,
be
right?
Be a little bit cautious.
Yeah, be respectful because it's not something, you don't become Hawaiian. You're not Hawaiian just because you were born here.
You have to be born with Hawaiian blood.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's important for people to know. Do you know anything about the cultural significance around leis or what they're given for, things like that?
So I did have this question come up recently where somebody who was visiting received a lei, and they're not super familiar with that. They're just like, oh, cool, like, appreciated it and that kind of stuff. And then I saw them wearing it and I was like, did you go somewhere? Like, were you a guest at something or whatever? And they were confused. They were like, why? When do people get leis? And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I didn't know, you didn't know. Or, things around that. But I would say like most commonly leis are given for some kind of celebration. So like, let's say, for example, you're graduating high school or college. Like when I graduated high school or even preschool, I got a lot of leis. Essentially, leis are like a flower necklace that you wear around your neck, and people will give them to you for a variety of different things to recognize you for something. You might be like a guest speaker at a conference or something like that. You're likely to get a lei. If it's your birthday, that kind of thing. And when you're graduating high school in particular, or high school, college, or preschool in my case, I was stacked. Like I had them up to my eyes. Like I couldn't see. I had to take some off because other people would want to give it to me. And people giving it to you, they're like your family, your friends, so classmates, maybe teachers, your parents, your aunties, your uncles, your grandparents, anyone who came to come see you, they're probably giving you a lei. I think my mom took some of them and like started wearing them so that I could get more and
so
that kind of
see?
thing. Yeah, so I could see. And they're heavy. If they're like stacked on you, it's like carrying weights, like straight up. You're getting a workout. But some other times people give leis, a lot of times at weddings, like if you're maybe like local to Hawaii or, in tune with some cultural stuff, or maybe you're using a wedding coordinator, they might tell you like, hey, a lot of times the bride and groom will give their parents a lei or their siblings a lei or, really close family members that help them on their journey of life, So those are maybe some other times that you would get a lei. Also, work parties, work anniversaries, retirement parties, or if you're going to a, birthday party of a child, let's say a child's first birthday party, Tempsy was talking about, birthday parties, I think recently too. Someone may have given you a lei.
No.
As a mom? No. I've seen.
That's okay.
I think maybe because yours was outside at the beach.
Yeah, it was.
But I have seen, occasionally sometimes indoor first birthday parties for kids. Some moms have gotten leis.
Yeah.
Kind of as a
Congrats for keeping your kid alive for a year.
I mean, well,
no, just kidding.
Maybe some more sentimental thought behind that, but kind of like a, hey, like you worked hard to raise your child for a year. You deserve something too. But yeah, and also one thing. So like, let's say all these different events are going on, right? Maybe it's a birthday or whatever. And if you're giving a lei to someone who's pregnant, you would actually untie, because a lei is like a circle, like a necklace. You would untie it on one end and kind of like loop it around her neck. I don't know how to explain that, but basically it would like hang loosely around her neck.
Yep.
And
with the two ends that are not tied hanging down below.
Yep.
Yeah. In front of them.
Right. So.
And I didn't know this when I got pregnant. Yeah. Somebody tried to give me a lei, and another person was like, "No, you can't do that." You know, like, and so they ended up cutting it. They didn't untie it; they cut it. And I was like, okay.
Separate it, right.
Why?
It's,
so what it represents, I looked this up. It's definitely a superstitious thing. What it could represent, or what it's thought to represent, is that the umbilical cord is wrapping around the child's neck. And so,
they want to prevent that from happening at all costs. So you just do not give a pregnant woman a lei that is, in its circular form.
Yes. Another time that I don't think you mentioned, apologies if you did, but I got a lei when I first landed.
Oh.
When I first arrived for my first visit to Hawaii.
That's funny.
Somebody brought me a lei.
They look at me and they're like, I think you're from here. You don't get one. I've never got one.
No, it wasn't random. it was who was picking me up. They knew I had never been here.
Okay. So I think like visitors, definitely. I mean, if you are coming here on vacation and staying at a hotel in Waikiki, the hotel's most likely giving you a lei.
If it's expensive.
It's like welcoming a guest, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what that's for, yeah.
And it's funny that you say the wedding, the leis at the wedding. We were supposed to have a lei ceremony, but my hair and makeup artist, she got there really late. She got there 2 hours late. So we had to skip the whole lei ceremony for my parents, which would have been really cool to get pictures of and, have them experience the local culture a little bit. So that was kind of sad, but.
Yeah, we didn't do the ceremony part, but we got them leis. Yeah, we got my parents and my grandparents leis, which they enjoyed. So yeah, it was nice.
That's good.
It does also look good in pictures and stuff though, when you're taking family photos and stuff later.
Typically when you get married in Hawaii, the man wears a maili lei, which is an all greenery lei. Yep. And it looks really, really nice. My husband wore one. Did Chris wear one?
No, he did not. Oh. That's just not our style, though. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Totally
I actually didn't want any of the guys to have any flowers on them. That was my choice.
Oh.
It's just the look I was going for. But I do like them. I think a lot of people, when they do get that lei for, the men, they wrap it with pikake, and it smells really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think my husband had that because he loves, he's like a big pikake smell person. He can smell everything, even my rank feet when I get home.
Oh my God.
So he's like, go wash your feet. His feet don't stink for some reason. I'm like, you're so lucky. But speaking of flowers, do you have insights into which ear you wear flowers depending on what?
I used to know this. This is if you're taken or single.
Yes.
Right? I used to know this in high school because I don't know, like people would talk about it back then and it was like a deal, like I have a boyfriend now or whatever. I think it's the same thing as rings on your finger. Oh. Left. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I think it is.
When they put, I decided to do flowers in my hair, and they put it on the right side, even though I was getting married. And I was like, isn't it supposed to, I asked them because I remembered at the time, I asked them, isn't it supposed to be on the left? They said, yes, typically. And my hairstylist was from here, so she knew, but she said, all of the photos are going to be taken from your right when you're at the altar.
Oh.
So I'm going to put it on the right. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I have no cultural connection myself personally to whether it's on the right or the left. So that's how I know it's supposed to be on the left when you're with, you're taken, and then on the right if you're single.
Yeah. And I think flowers here in Hawaii, it's like, although there are certain times that it means something, right? Like you're congratulating somebody for something, you're welcoming them if they're visiting. But also I feel like people here just generally like flowers and wearing them and like the smell of them and the looks and all that kind of stuff. So, it is very common for people to wear a flower over their ear.
Yeah. How do you go through the process of choosing a lei? Because before I would think like, I'm just gonna pick a lei that looks really nice, and for me that means color. But what I found out is that color doesn't always mean that it smells nice, and people in Hawaii typically value more the fact that it smells nice.
Yeah. I think this is something that a lot of thought goes into, like more than people probably think. So I would say, for example, if you're going to that high school graduation, odds are if you're getting a whole bunch for all your friends, you're getting that purple orchid one because that's the least expensive one that they sell at the store. Or it's like the carnation one with the roses. That I feel like those are normally lower priced too.
What about the ones with candy? Like
the candy
pretty
ones,
cheap, right?
yeah, and they last for a long time and you get some other benefit out of it. But like there are certain types of leis that and you can always ask, like if you're going to a flower shop to buy this stuff, you can always tell them I'm getting it for like my dad or my brother or something, because there are leis that are quote unquote like more masculine style and that kind of stuff. So like for our grandmas at our wedding, we got them ginger leis because they lie flat. So they said like for elderly women, I mean, not calling my grandma old, but
she's your
but
grandma.
she's my grandma. They probably don't want something that can roll off their shoulder and they will constantly have to adjust. So if it's a flat lei, it will stay as it is throughout the day, the night. They
Does
won't
that
have
mean
to
it's
fuss
less
with
itchy
it.
too?
I think it is less itchy because there's not as many like petally things sticking out from it. That's where I'm saying, like, when there's a lot of, depending on who you're getting it for, there could be a lot of thought going behind it because somebody could be sensitive to smell.
Right.
You might know, like, I mean, if you're friends with them or you know them well, right? Or you might know that, some people have allergic reactions to leis. You don't want them to get something really itchy. Or if you're going to something like let's say, for example, you go to Waikiki and there's like a band playing or whatever. Sometimes they're wearing leis.
Yeah.
Sometimes they want them to be a little bit flashier because they're performing. So, yeah.
So they may
all
be
kinds of things.
more colorful, but don't smell as good.
Yeah.
Because most of the leis that smell really good
They
are
don't look that
typically
good.
white
Right.
or orange.
They're plain.
So,
Yeah.
and it's usually all of that flower. So it's not diverse in color per se.
Right.
So interesting. There was no way I would ever have known any of that. I think recently I also heard, not recently, I've known for a little while that wearing the plastic leis is kind of like frowned upon, like the fake.
Yeah, I feel
flower
like that's kind of
leis.
like, ha ha, like tacky party.
Or having a luau party.
Right, yeah,
if it's
yeah.
not truly a luau.
Right.
It's
like
not
a
like
themed thing, not like
Yeah.
a genuine thing.
is it frowned upon, or is it just like real cheesy when you're in Hawaii because you could be doing the real thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more like cheesy because you could easily just go and get the real one.
Yeah.
We got a lot of flowers. You could buy, like, to be fair, like for people who are not familiar, you don't have to go to a special store or anything to get a lei. You could go to the drugstore, you could go to the grocery store, like they're all over the place. So
That's another interesting point, because if I were to go to a CVS or a Long's in the mainland, you wouldn't
Why
find
would
a
they even
lei.
have that? No, yeah.
But every Long's, CVS, every store here,
gas station, I think too sometimes.
yeah, they have leis there for you,
Just in
which is
case.
super
you
convenient.
could be on your way somewhere and need one,
It's super convenient if you forgot somebody's birthday.
Right.
You're like,
I'm going to their dinner right now.
Yeah, exactly. So super interesting stuff about leis. Like, who'd have thunk that we'd be talking that long about flowers and leis, right?
It's been over 10 minutes.
We can see that. All right, let's switch over to something else. Taking your shoes off when you enter someone's home. Is there a cultural significance about this? Because I'll be honest with you, growing up, we not only wore our shoes in the house unless we got like brand new carpet, and then it was like, oh, you can't wear your shoes in the house for like a month, and then they were over it, my parents, right? So but my shoes were kept in my closet where my clothes were. Is it just a cleanliness thing, or is there some cultural significance? Or
So I think maybe it's like split
I'm
between the
asking
two.
you like you're the expert on this subject. Sorry.
I think it's kind of split between the two. And I would say that when I was growing up, a lot of times that was the angle my parents would go. Like, your shoes are dirty, don't walk with them in the house. But also, if you think about it, it's not cold enough here for you to be wearing your shoes in the house, truthfully.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, not saying that, I don't think that was necessarily a factor in all of this, but I'd say traditionally, and I'm gonna guess this is probably like a Asian cultural thing that came from Japan or China, way back in the days when all these like immigrants from those countries came to Hawaii, because I feel like in, the little Japanese movies or TV shows that I have watched, and even like Terrace House, which is on Netflix right now, there are areas when you get through the front door, almost like a foyer kind of situation, where they have like cubbies for shoes. Like, you're supposed to take your shoes off before you come in. So I don't know, like, necessarily the reason why they were doing that. I think part of it is like a respectful thing. Like, you don't just want to like track your whatever is on dirt or whatever through someone else's house too.
Yeah, that's true.
But
my husband goes, well, think about it. Like, he's like, you walk outside in the dirty ground, and then you come and bring it in your house, and you bring it in your kitchen, and then it goes into your bathroom, and then you keep it under your clothes, and all your stink from your shoe goes up into your clothes. And I'm like, jeez, all right. I mean, I wasn't challenging him on it. I didn't really care because it meant that I had to clean my floors less.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a benefit too, but I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, why? I was just asking him, like, why is that? And it was just funny when he said, well, think about it. And I'm like, sorry.
And on the flip side, I'll be honest. So, I mean, I have visited people like on the mainland who never lived here. You know what I mean? Like, they never grew up here or anything. And I felt really bad walking through their house with my shoes on still. And I was just like, is this okay? Like, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like, you know where I've walked today? Like,
it feels
now on your floor.
So I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, because I've been with my husband for almost 10 years. I can't believe that. But it feels super uncomfortable.
Like guilty almost.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
It's like a guilt when I'm walking, and they don't care because they normally don't take off their shoes before they go in their house. But I just feel like, what if there's something on my shoe that's gonna get on their
like
carpet?
Gum. I don't know. Like,
yeah. So,
anyways, yeah, that's so. In my future home I want to design, I do want a little like area right when you come in with like shoe storage and whatnot.
It's called a mud room.
I know,
but we don't have mud rooms here.
I know,
because we don't have snow.
But at the same time too, like mud rooms, I don't know, like, because I've never actually been to a house with a mud room. I always feel like that's the back door situation, not the front door situation.
It can be either, but typically people have mud rooms because you go out in the snow,
right?
Or
and your
super
shoes
rainy.
are all like gross and muddy, and yeah.
So there's no real need to have it here,
right?
But I would love that too. All right. What about, you talked a little bit about Japanese culture and some of the movies that you've seen where people are taking their shoes off before they go into the home or wherever they're going. What other cultural influences kind of have ingrained into Hawaii etiquette?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I would say like some of this comes from things that I was raised with, I guess, either like from my grandma or like my parents. So, and these are, I feel like, more leaning towards like Japanese traditions that may have transformed over time, obviously. But one of them is omiyage. So that might be like a confusing word for a lot of people out there.
I said omiyage.
Omiyage. Omiyage, basically that means buying things for people when you go on trips, like bringing back gifts for your friends and stuff like that. So that's something that we definitely do. Like when we go on a trip, obviously I'm shopping for myself. But we also bring back stuff for other people, like friends, coworkers, parents, anybody who might want something or whatever. A lot of times right now, this is going to Trader Joe's because we don't got Trader Joe's over here. Before, it used to be a lot of other stores, and I would just fill up my suitcase with all these things.
What was the one thing your dad asked you to bring back? Sourdough bread.
Sourdough bread. I was like, what?
But it was like a specific...
it's a certain one, and I bought one and it was the wrong one. I'm like, you don't get this anymore.
That's grounded.
Basically what I said. And then he actually wanted sourdough bread from Southern California, but I was in Northern California, and I was like, never mind. But yeah, omiyage, that's a thing. So like, let's say for example, when I go to Japan, and I feel like Japan does a really good job of this. They have all these packaged things that you can just take
at the
home
airport.
with you, right? Everywhere. The airport's like a mall. So
it's
clearly
so cool.
a Japanese inspired tradition going on right here. But
I also do that for when I go to the mainland.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't me, it was my husband. Like, he follows that kind of mentality because when we go to the mainland, they don't get to have some of the treats that we have here, and my family wasn't even exposed to those kind of treats. Like, sure, they might have been exposed to chocolate-covered macadamia nuts, but not the ones
There's
that
a lot of
are
other
from
stuff,
Hawaii.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like what is it, Honolulu Cookie Company that has those brownies I think I talked about in another episode. Those are so good. And I didn't get to send those that other gift that I talked about on that episode because we couldn't find them.
Oh, shucks.
If we had ordered them online. So it was these Kona coffee bars, just in case anybody wants to know. They used to have them at the Costco. They used to have them at Costco, and they had them at a much cheaper price. You can make your own combination of bars.
Like
It was
I see.
3 or 5 per box, and it was much cheaper than getting it online.
Mm-hmm.
If I got it online, it would have been $12 more per box.
Whoa.
So, and that didn't even include shipping.
Oh my God.
So I was like, I'll just get people other stuff. But anyways, so that's just something that we do every single time. So then the extra space that we had from bringing that over,
Oh,
we
you
could
can fill it
bring
up
back.
and bring something.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think another thing that I feel like, well, the only reason why I think this is maybe exclusive to Hawaii or whatever is returning empty containers if somebody gives you food. So like, let's say, for example, if like you have a friend that like, I don't know, get like, oh, hey, I made cookies at my house over the weekend or whatever. I don't know. Maybe not all of us have those friends out there, but, and then they bring you this container, like their Tupperware from their cabinet at home, and they give it to you. You would not normally give that back empty to them. And that was one thing that my grandma mentioned a lot. You know, you don't just give it back empty. You fill it back up with something, and then you give it back to them because your friend gave you something. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a even trade situation.
That's cool.
Right? Yeah.
I would go even further to say that when you have parties or you go to potlucks or whatever, that it's kind of discouraged to leave without taking some with you.
Yeah. People want to split it up. They want you to go home with something, you know, like you don't just come and leave, you know.
And even ones that I would
but
go
even
to.
But even when you're going, you should take something with you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. But when you're going, like sometimes I would go to things and my husband wasn't able to make it. I'd be like, oh, take some for Daniel. Like, oh, no, it's okay. And they're like, no, take some for him. And I was like, okay, sorry. It was like I could tell they were very adamant that you take something home.
Right.
Yeah. And so now I just know when you're helping clean up or if people are cleaning up, they're going to pack some stuff for everybody.
Right. And the other one I can think of is when you're using chopsticks, because that's pretty common here to use chopstick while you're eating. You do not stick them straight up in your food, like 2 chopsticks side by side, pointing straight up to the sky. That is a no-no.
Isn't that something to do with death or something?
Yes, that's what I've heard.
Actually,
I didn't look this up.
Daniel told me about that early on because I would just like, even in soup, in noodles, he'd be like, no. But mostly it's rice.
Rice, yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, sorry. But I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was just needed somewhere to hold my chopsticks. But you got to just hold it on the side and make your little chopstick.
With the wrapper, you fold it up.
Yep. So he taught me how to do that too. You just fold your wrapper in a specific way, and it kind of holds up your chopsticks as like a chopstick holder. I feel so special knowing these things. Another thing with eating, since all of these have to do with food, is going back to like the potluck thing or party. Is I've noticed, or I was told by my husband, that instead of letting the children eat first, like the parents going and getting food for the kids first, you actually let the elders of the family go first. And this is like a big thing in Hawaii and probably some of the specific cultures out here, is that the elders are highly respected and you want to make sure that they're taken care of first. So kind of interesting in the mainland, what I've experienced anyway, is that everybody waits until the mothers go and get food for their children so that maybe because they want the kids to shut up. I don't know. I don't know, but that's what I noticed that one too. Another thing I'll mention is there's some etiquette aspects when it comes to driving. So, and I kind of feel like this depends on where you live in Hawaii, because there's like some really laid back areas. There's some real aggressive areas just because it's really compact, like town. But in town, that's where I live, and there's not many left turn lanes. So you kind of have to be a little bit more assertive. If you want to turn left, you really got to want to turn left. You know what I mean? And it might take you weaving a little bit, but if you stick out your hand and you want to get into the next lane, like people will oftentimes let you in. There's that like aloha spirit and things like that. But if they do let you in, or the cars on the other side of the road that are going the opposite way when you're making a left, if they stop and let you go, you got to throw up your wave or your like shaka if you feel comfortable with it. But them. That's how you acknowledge and thank them. And I also was told that this is not a town or state in which using your horn is prevalent. In fact, if you use your horn, you could get beat up. So I was like, okay. It's not like I was like leaning in on the horn in the mainland or anything, but it was good to know because I'm not trying to get beat up.
Right, yeah. And I mean, I think that's like if it's used in an aggressive way, right?
Yeah.
Calling somebody out. But like, you know, I mean, I have used my horn if someone clearly was not paying attention to the light turning green and then sat there for a while. I'm kind of like, hey,
heads up.
yeah, you can go now. But, you know, also I think that that's one, I don't know if necessarily a complaint, but I think something that people go back and forth on is like people are too nice driving here. Like everybody just wants to let each other go, like that kind of thing. So that could be good because then at least you can go.
Yeah.
But that could also be bad because then you're like holding up traffic. Yeah.
But then you have the other side of the coin where people are so assertive, it's like blurring the line into aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
And they cut in front of the entire line and then hold everybody else behind the back, which is causing the traffic to begin with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know a couple people like that. I won't say who, but it drives me bonkers. Anyways, what about, have you had this experience of people fighting over the restaurant bill?
So for me, not really. I feel like when my friends and I are going somewhere, we automatically know we're splitting it and we're paying for ourselves. I mean, I think it also depends on who you're going with.
Yeah.
But I would say in most cases, like when I'm with my friends, we're like, some of us may take turns. Like we already know, like it's a preset expectation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like let's say, for example, if one day I head over to my friend's house and I'm like, hey, you want me to pick you something up? Sure. The next time they're probably going to get me. But once we've caught up on that, and then let's say we're meeting at a restaurant, we're like splitting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not my experience. Like, that's my experience with going to lunch with you or like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But with my husband's friends, they like, I feel like they're getting close to like scrapping.
Over the bill.
Yeah.
Give it to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Or my husband is really good at getting his credit card to the waiter without anybody knowing. That's only a skill you learn when you've grown up fighting over a bill.
That's
to
true.
pay
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll go to the mainland to see my parents, or they'll come here and we'll go to lunch or dinner, and my parents will be like, where's the bill? And Danny's like, oh, I already took care of it. And they're like, oh, I wanted to pay, you know? And I'm like, he's like mitigating the whole argument, you know, to begin. He's like, oh, it's okay, you can pay next time. And then he doesn't let them pay next time unless it's like a cheap something or other. And I'm like, okay, they're really gonna start getting mad.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed is I started when I met my husband, I would call flip-flops because where I grew up they're flip-flops. But if you call flip-flops here, you're gonna get a look.
We know you're not from here.
Yeah.
It's a giveaway.
And you're gonna get a look. It's like,
What? What's that?
like they know you guys know what it means,
Right,
but
yeah.
you're just like, oh, it's like cringeworthy almost.
Yeah.
They're called slippas. And it's not slippers, it's slippas. SLIPPAHS.
Oh my god.
Do
You know
you
what's
say
so
slippas
funny?
or slippers?
No, slippers.
Oh.
We also covered in a previous episode that I do not say many slang words.
That's true.
Yeah. But you know, it's so funny because like, you know, on the opposite end, if I ever say slippers to somebody who's not from here, they think I mean house slippers. We already know that too. And then sometimes I'm like, oh no, that's not what I meant.
What about malama aina? Have you heard? Is it malama aina?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't feel
what does it
like,
mean?
well, it means to take care of the land, but I don't feel like, I guess it depends like who you're around, what you're exposed to, if you're watching TV or reading something, like that kind of thing. Because I wouldn't say that this is a phrase I hear a lot. Like, I don't feel like it's being like shoved in my face or anything like that. But I feel like it's something that you do. Like, you know, you already know you're supposed to be taking care of the land. Like, you already know you're not supposed to be littering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, without it having to be spread across a board and, you know, in big letters or anything like that. Like, you're just doing it already.
Well, it's because you grew up with that mentality.
Yeah.
Like, people around you in school, it's not prevalent to you because it's just the way everybody lives.
Right.
But for me, when I was growing up, it was don't litter, right? Like, that, you know, but this means a lot more than just don't litter. I get that. It means caring for the land and its resources. But for me, you know, it's kind of like in the mainland I was taught, do unto others as others would do unto you. This is the golden rule, right? And I think sometimes, you know, not sometimes, but we have tourists that come here, and if they weren't taught those things that I was taught and they didn't grow up here, then they just leave stuff around. Or another thing that I've noticed is they'll leave the showers on at the beaches.
Oh, just running.
We live on an island.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, there's water around us, but that's not what we use to shower.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's salt water. Yeah.
So my husband taught this to me early on. Like, for him, it was a big thing. And it would drive him nuts if he went to a beach and saw the shower just, like, going.
Yeah.
And so no matter what, or if he saw trash on the beach, he'll pick it up. So now that's what I do, too. But it's interesting how you grow up, you know, in different places and learn different values that end up, as long as you were taught those values and you were held to those standards by your parents, then you're growing up kind of the same way, but with a different understanding. Malama is a little deeper than that. It's a different understanding and caring for the land and stuff. Whereas mine is like, yeah, I care for the earth, but just don't litter.
Right,
you know
right,
what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. And I think part of it too probably comes from, you know, once you go out your front door and you look around, there's nature right there. You know what I mean? Like, you can't not see it. So it's always on your mind, and you're always kind of like, you know, I should take care of this. I don't want it to one day not be there or whatever. I want to keep it going as long as possible. Plus, I mean, I guess, you know, there's a lot of education, I think, at an early age. I think you will notice this as Grayson starts going to elementary school and stuff like that. But they're talking about it from, like, the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Another thing I've noticed is that, I think I've talked about this before on a previous episode, but anytime that I go out, I see someone that I know, or my husband sees someone that he knows, and you have to say hi. So this includes acquaintances that you've only met once for like a half second. You know what I mean? And it's just like, my husband told me, you have to be Mrs. Aloha. Like, you have to say hi to them, acknowledge that you remember meeting them, and it's just the right thing to do. It's that aloha spirit. Mm-hmm. What is your take on that?
I mean, I think it's a lot of things, and I think this is something that we touched on a previous episode too. It's almost like there's a lot of people in Hawaii, but it's still considered pretty small, like tight knit. So it's almost like one of those, you don't know who your boss is going to be. You don't know when you're going to run into this person again. You don't know, like, I mean, we don't know a lot of things, but, you know, chances are you may see this person at some point. So it's not like you want to just be a jerk and ignore them or something, you know?
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. Like, this person could be part of your life in the future in one way, shape, or form, whether it's, you know, maybe you own your own business in the future and now they're like the head of your vendor, you know?
Right.
Super interesting. I like that point. So yeah, I don't ever leave the house without makeup. Because I know I'm gonna run into somebody, especially when I don't want to run into somebody because I didn't put makeup on. That's when I run into somebody. One of the other things I noticed is in the mainland, if you say good luck to somebody, it's almost bad luck, and it's usually facetious.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like sarcastic.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially in theater, let's say you say break a leg, right? So when I moved to Hawaii, or even when I met my husband, he would tell me good luck, and I would be like, what? You know, like, that's supposed to be bad luck. But in a lot of Asian cultures, there's a lot to do with quote unquote luck in general,
and wanting it to be good, and
exactly. So it's genuine,
right.
When
so I have a question for you then.
Yeah.
So what is your take on people just saying, like, how are you, or how are you doing? Do you feel like there's a difference between if someone is asking the question because they actually want to know, or if it's just kind of like the replacement for hi?
It's replacement for hi most of the time here.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
I think it's the opposite.
Well, sorry. It's most of the time in the mainland, and I haven't seen a difference here.
Oh, okay.
Have you experienced something different?
I mean, I feel like more people will actually ask, like, how are you? I think it depends. So I feel like maybe it's like 50-50. Yeah. Because I feel like there's a lot of people who actually want to know, too.
Yeah, sometimes people will position their whole body towards me.
Wait,
and you
so
can
how
tell,
are you? Right, yeah.
You can tell they're, like, standing there waiting for a genuine answer.
Right.
Other than, I'm good.
Right, yeah.
Oh, I'm good. Or I'm fine. You know, like... And then, even now, if somebody tells me they're fine, I'm like, oh, just fine?
Yeah,
they probably hate it too. But I'm like, oh, how can we make this day better for you? How can it be amazing? You know? Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yeah.
It's funny when my boss asks me, and I'm like, I think about it because I know he's looking for like a genuine answer, and I'm like, I'm good. Things are good. You know?
Yeah.
So I could see what you're saying. All right. For those of you who have visited Hawaii or you grew up here, let us know if we missed anything, if there are any other etiquette aspects that we didn't touch on that you think are super important. Let us know. We want to hear about them and we want to talk about them. So let us know on Facebook or Instagram, or you can email us at theoutrighteffect@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening to this episode of The Outright Effect. You can find us at theoutrighteffect.com, on social media at The Outright Effect on Instagram and Facebook, or email us at theoutrighteffect@gmail.com. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.